What are we doing?
Happy birthday, Mom.
What are those called, Michael?
You know, I don't know what they're called. They're jalapeno roll-ups.
Jalapeno roll-ups? Delicious.
That's what we'll call them.
But this is our chicken wild rice famous hot dish.
What is it, Mary?
Special recipe.
What is it?
Goulash. Born and raised. Oh, here, in the Midwest. If you lived here, then you've had some of this luscious dish. Ready?
Yeah.
All right. It's gonna be cold. I just put a bunch of cold stuff in there.
How is it? Is it good?
Mmm.
Delicious, Michael. What's that?
Which is a good thing. I had to blow dry her hair. It took me forever. No.
Well, it's cheese and
When should I make this, Mayor?
I think the sooner we
salsa.
get things done.
Cheese and
Yeah, I
salsa?
can do everything.
Quite
here
delicious.
except
Oh,
the
yummy.
bug in me. That ever?
You got stuff to plug in too, I bet, huh?
Here, rip it open.
Well, it'll come off, but it's just kind of wet.
Cool
I
cap.
love these
That
cookies.
goes great with the rest of
Everything
doesn't
else.
it?
He did research.
Oh, look at those.
Oh, happy
Oh,
birthday,
look at that.
sweet mother-in-law.
Happy birthday, Mom!
Hi, thank you.
Decided at the last minute that I'd ride with these guys and then, oh, you can leave your shoes on at this house?
Yeah.
And then go home with Bob, so.
You look great. How'd you get here?
When was that?
Well, Jim
Jim's
called
family?
me at the last minute and
That's
said, you
nice.
want
We
to
were
ride
hoping
with us?
because in
Yeah, I
case
said,
Bob comes.
yeah, because
Is
Bob's
Bob
gonna come.
coming?
Why you drive
Yeah,
home?
Bob's gonna come.
Oh, good.
If it's real dead, he's gonna close at 4 o'clock, he said.
That's cute. You look great.
Doesn't it?
Yeah. Look at the orange.
Practicing your
John.
Spanish?
That's for Mom. That chair.
Oh.
Yeah, get out of that chair. That's the birthday gal's chair.
See, it's happy birthday.
You don't even have to say play safe.
That's enough now.
You guys want
Dear Grandma, I appreciate that you take the time to listen to what I say and that you encourage me in what activities I'm in. You also are helpful with ideas concerning these activities. You listen with a compassionate ear to complaints or problems that I have. You then give suggestions that are helpful to me. I always feel better after talking with you. I enjoy having lunch and going shopping on my birthday. I have fun and enjoy getting to know each other more. I appreciate that you let me use your car for driver's training. You are very trusting. I am glad that you live close and that I can depend on your listening ear and comforting suggestions. I love you very much. Your granddaughter, Katrina.
Oh. That's so nice.
That's really nice.
Oh.
You care for me and share my pain. You listen to me and talk about things I like. I'm glad you live so close so that we can talk. Oh, Joe.
That's really sweet.
Thank you.
That's very nice, Joe.
Down because my mom didn't tell me until today.
I thought I did.
Okay, but the things that are special about you is that I'm named after you. So when people ask me where I got my name, I can always tell them that I'm named after my grandma. And also that you're married to my uncle, so I get to confuse people.
That is a little. Yeah. That is a little special. Yeah.
And I like going to your house and spending the nights there and stuff because it's always fun to spend time with you and talk with you.
Oh, that's nice, Heidi. Cheers, guys.
Oh, yeah,
Give
she
one
wrote
of the
that,
chairs.
Nick.
Thanks, Joel.
Well, I really don't have much to say because I didn't think about it a lot, but you're my only grandma, so that's very special.
Oh, that's sweet. Thanks, Nick.
Yay.
Thank you.
You are a special grandma because you are really nice and have a great sense of humor. You also have a great personality.
So do you.
Sit on the chair, Jake. No, you don't have to. Yeah, you don't have to. No, I'm sorry.
Sarah, you are special because you're kind, loving, caring, and really fun. Happy birthday.
Yay.
Can I make it when I come over and
my God, that is beautiful.
Here comes Buddy.
Thank you. Buddy, what do you like?
Special she is, or about going to her house?
Not particularly.
Not particularly. That's okay.
I'd like to hear about where you went for your birthday.
Yeah, I would.
Where'd you
too.
go?
I went to a store with some toys.
You went to a store and got some toys? What
With
toys
Grandma?
did you
Which
get?
store, Jonathan, did we go
A
to?
truck that had a snowplow on it and a tractor. And,
Wow.
some horses.
What did you eat?
Godfather's pizza.
How many pieces did you have?
How many?
Four.
How many did Grandma have?
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
2.
Where
I
did
was
you go?
waiting to see age
John,
here.
me too.
If like it was me, I'd go, don't tell.
John,
I wrote you a poem titled it Grandma's 60th.
What's it called?
Grandma's 60th.
Okay.
I only have 5 minutes to find out what to say, but after 16 years, you've been there in every way. It was sprung upon me a sudden, but you mean so much to me. Through swallowed aspirin, broken bones, and even a scraped knee. 60 years on this earth, there's so much you could teach us. 3 minutes more and they're calling my name. I best not miss this bus. Grandma, in a word, you're a mother, but only grand. When it comes to telling you love, I raise my head and stand. From 44 to 60, I have seen you grow. For the rest of life, in me I hope you show.
Wow. There's a poet among us.
He got mine after poetry, didn't he?
Let him do it from now on, Cass.
Really?
Yeah.
That was good. Mike.
Yeah, this is from the little ones. Mary took it for you.
Oh, Mark's here now.
Okay.
Oh, that's nice.
But this part
Wait.
didn't go.
It didn't go, it didn't fill in? I like your choice of colors.
Oh, that is beautiful. I like those colors
Yeah.
too.
And this is from Joanna. Some pretty finger painting.
oh, is it ever pretty?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I just squeeze.
What?
I just squeeze.
Oh, you got to squeeze?
Yeah.
The tubes?
Bottles.
Oh, those are good squeezes.
It's a little bit like Jackson Pollock.
I think so.
Oh, like it was.
Oh, right.
Because it was such a big blob.
Oh, so the big blob was.
Yeah, that was nice.
Oh. I didn't get it. Say it again.
What'd she say?
What, Mary? What was it? That was
The
nice.
common theme.
Mary with the
common
PhD
theme.
picked up a thread. Something. Write a dissertation on it, Mary. What was it?
Thank you.
That she listens to and talks to.
Isn't that
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
They can trust.
Joan-
Grandma's.
That's
they
really
can trust her.
special. Did you hear that, Mom? What Mary said?
Yeah, that's nice.
Joel and Katrina wrote theirs down, and afterwards they compared, and they said the same thing.
They hadn't.
Oh, really?
I was
They-
wondering if they.
Yeah, I wondered
Wow.
if they collaborated.
They hadn't chatted
Oh,
first. It
that's
was just.
nice.
That's
Wow.
Yeah, it is.
That's very nice.
So you're caring. You have a good personality.
That's sense
You
of
could
humor.
teach them a lot.
And you're old.
And so I know a lot. I've been here a long time.
Introduction?
No, you should do it,
here,
Jim.
You do it. I'll do an introduction.
Oh, okay.
We'll do it together.
No, you do
Let's
it.
do it together.
I'll
All right.
stand here.
What are we doing here?
I'll look pretty, you do the presentation.
What are we doing here, Jim?
You're doing the presentation?
Yeah.
We're doing a presentation.
Boy, she's got a short memory.
Why are we doing this presentation?
She's trying to be Kathy.
We're doing this presentation for our mother.
They're like Sonny and Cher, kind of, aren't they?
Yeah, right.
Oh, brother.
That's just what Sonny would say.
It is.
For our mother, we went back into history. 1938, the year Mom was born, and some of us came up with some different information on maybe cars or what have you, whatever they had an interest in, or what they have an interest in now. back in 1938, kind of what was going on then. And so we all have a little presentation, other than me, because you know me.
No one told
Because
you.
Because Kathy's doing the introduction.
I'm doing it because I was voted to do the
Nobody
introduction.
wrote it.
And I thought that maybe we'd do the old gray goose later or something, and that would bring back a little bit. So here's Jim doing his 1938 painting.
No.
No.
Sit down. I dug up some information at the library about 1938. I found out that Mom was born on a Wednesday,
Oh.
December 21st.
Did you know that,
it was a
Mom?
Wednesday?
No, I didn't know that.
And
Hump
20 years
day.
later, 1958,
You were born?
I was born on a Wednesday. too.
Wow.
I think
When
I
was
might
I
have
born?
been born on a Wednesday.
Wasn't the same
Might
month,
have.
but
James,
when were you born?
James?
We can find out later.
We don't have time for that right now.
What is that book?
Oh, this is really neat. This is Chronicle of the 20th Century.
Oh, I thought it was a
You
children's
can
manual.
spend hours in
Yeah.
here.
Wow.
But
But you're not going to, right?
Rick just got to do his yet.
here's some
You guys had it.
1938 in the news. FDR asks for buildup of Army and Navy. Second Agricultural Adjustment Act is passed and provides for ever normal grain rate. Winston Churchill protests Neville Chamberlain's policies of appeasement. Mudslides in Southern California kill 144. Germany invades Austria. Germany invades Austria. You guys know the movie Sound of Music? Oh, we had reference to that a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
That took place in 1938.
Wow, Mom.
No wonder you like that movie so
I
much.
did
Yeah.
so. I identify with it.
Yeah.
The stars were lined up in that.
And there's
We
other
have anything
things
with
you
that
guys can
tune
look
that
through
we like that
later.
Song. Isn't there one
You have
You
your
do yours. Inflation was at less than 1%.
What does that mean?
Less than 1%.
Right now, what is it?
low.
6%,
What's inflation?
something like that, or what?
Don't worry,
What's
you'll
that
find
mean?
out.
Now it's at like 2.9.
Is it? And that's considered pretty normal. But it was
Okay.
less than 1%. And unemployment was 19%.
Wow.
That was nice.
Wow.
Yep.
The
It was
depression.
hard
Still after
days. It was
depression.
depression
Yeah.
still. And when I looked through this, I saw a lot about wars in Europe and stuff, and Hitler was really starting to come to power when Mom was born. And here's some hit songs. Chiquita Banana.
I know
Wow,
that
what a
song
groovy
too.
time.
Did you sing a couple?
Did the Brady Bunch sing that?
Banana and I come to say.
I'd like to say.
Cheapers.
Mary was
How are you
there.
gonna correct?
Falling in Love with Love is another song.
Oh, I wonder how that goes.
This Can't Be Love. They say you must have been a beautiful baby.
You must have
Yeah.
Get Out of Town. My Heart Belongs to Daddy. September Song. Jeepers Creepers. My Revere. And Spring is Here. And we have some movies here somewhere too. But there's a lot of information here that you can look through. Oh, here's one of the most interesting things that I came across that happened in 1938. You guys heard of the, when the Martians landed here on Earth? You heard that?
Orson Welles.
did
Orson
the
Welles.
1938, just a couple
Really?
months before
Hey,
that.
hey, hey! That's moving into my area, Jim.
That's when it happened. And then, look at this, you guys. This is Mom in her yearbook.
Oh, it is. Let's see. Let me see.
You
if I
got
can
that at the
find it.
Jim
library?
did
Yep.
a better presentation than I'm gonna do.
Oh, cool! You got that at the library?
And Mom was on she was on the Raiders Digest, and here she is in the third row, right here in
Oh,
the middle.
wow!
She worked on the Raiders Digest, and she was in the FHA, but I don't think your picture's in here. I couldn't find it, but you'll probably know a lot of these people.
Wow.
Yeah.
And she was on the debate team, And here she is,
Wow,
second
Mom.
row, right here.
Wow.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know
And
you were in debate.
She
Mom.
was on the committee for the senior class play. I don't think she's pictured here, but she'll sure know the people here.
Yeah.
Mom.
And they did
Did you skip out that day, Ron?
12 Angry Women was
Yeah.
the play.
Oh,
they
like
had
12
already
Angry
picked
Men?
all the
Oh,
cast when I came, because I was at St. John's at the beginning of my
Okay.
senior year. And I came when the school year had started, so
And
So
then
that's where your picture
this
was?
is what it
that's why I
says.
wasn't on the...
Adelheid Reese, Heidi, pleasant as spring, calm and subdued as well. Calm and subdued as she is well groomed. St. Benedict, St. Joseph for the first 3 years of high school. Raiders Digest staff, FHA, debate, NFL. I didn't know what that was. What's
Football.
I don't know what that is either. No, it didn't have anything to do with football.
Something to do with
I can't-
farmers?
It's like an honor society kind of thing, but I can't remember.
Oh,
what it's called.
smart
NFL?
and
And senior class play committee. And her ambition, business.
oh,
That's interesting.
and you're in business right now.
There. But
Yay.
this book is really fun if anybody
Yeah, I've
wants to
seen
look.
that book before.
This is
That's
this
great.
is what
No, that's
happened
mine.
in
The
December.
top part is mine.
The month you were born.
And
right
who
here.
needs the
This is December.
the
And there was nothing
That's mine, honey.
actually on your day except for you. They reserved that day for you.
Oh.
Well,
Okay.
hi Mom.
Hi, John.
Hi, John.
This is what. Here, can we get a?
Uh-huh.
What do you have up here?
All right.
Yeah.
What's this?
Well, what I did is I went to the library too, and I looked at the spiral, but I thought we were doing something from '38. So I went to the
Okay, cool.
newspaper, and this came out of the Hastings paper. And it's. Did you get it on the video?
Yeah.
Okay. It's a picture of a guy on a life raft, and he's yelling, "What shall I get my wife for Christmas?" And the guy on the ship says, "Give her an electric range." You know, so she can cook.
Yeah, right.
That's 38 though.
Thank you.
And then I went
Cool.
and I saw, we think we have invasion of privacy these days. If you
Yeah.
look at those old newspapers. This is the Hastings paper, and they have a heading in here of Vermilion. Well, I think everybody in town had something to do that week because they're all listed here as Peter Keeman spent the weekend with his sister.
Oh my God.
And then
Interesting.
it goes on.
Like Billy Keeman? Is he related to Billy?
I don't know.
Probably his father.
Who else? Let's hear.
Oh,
Little Juice.
Mr. and Mrs. Joe Marshall and family, and Mr. and Mrs. A.G. Marshall were Sunday supper guests of Miss Margaret Marshall.
Wow. I wonder what
That
that
was newsworthy.
No, wait, this is in the Hastings paper, and this is just Vermilion. They had New Trier
Really?
all the
Everybody-
time.
Denmark
They must have all
Township?
turned in their
Denmark,
social
oh, they
events.
even had Prairie Island and Welch and everything.
Wow.
Mr. and Mrs. Mike Kimmis and son Donovan, who was our neighbor at the antique store of Meesville, and Mr. and Mrs. Andrew Gross of St. Paul spent the Sunday with Mr. and Mrs. Charles Marshall. And it goes on and on about the Stuffles and the Marshalls and the
The
Fassbenders.
Werners and the Friendrops and the Bowers
And then I saw something about a Langenfeld. A Frank Langenfeld had the tip of his index finger cut off on his left hand while grinding sausage that Thursday. Well, I hope he sure didn't. I hope.
I hope they.
Saw any of the sausage?
Yeah.
I was just gonna, and then under that it says, Mr. and Mrs. Joseph Reese of Vermilion are the parents of a 7-pound daughter born Wednesday at
You might have a
St.
little Langenfeld in here.
Raphael's Hospital. Mrs. Reese was formerly Helen Berman of this city. And it goes on and on again.
Does it say Mom's name?
Yay!
Good digging.
You were only 7 pounds.
7
You were
pounds.
little.
Good research, bro.
Yeah.
Getting there, bro.
Boy.
And then I just got, here, another visual
Oh,
of
Kings?
some of the prices of
Oh, okay.
food.
I don't
And
know
see,
if I can
that's
get it.
1938. You can see it. I'm not cheating here.
I'm not cheap.
Oranges, 25 cents a dozen.
Uh-huh. Look, peaches. Are the peaches on there?
25
those peach
cans
prices.
of peaches for
Peaches.
20 cents.
How much?
20
December?
No, for a can.
Oh, a can. I
Can
thought
of peaches.
fresh was 20 cents.
Wow.
How much is it now? 60?
No, buck something.
That's pretty good, huh?
Cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
at least, wouldn't it
Okay.
be?
No,
And peaches.
And that's King's
Oh, and look
grocery
at
store.
that's King's Groceries. But look at this. I bet you remember the dances, don't you? Hampton had a dance
Christmas
hall.
dance Tuesday,
Yeah.
December 27th. So that was right.
But
after.
you were, you
Too
wouldn't
young.
have gone to that dance.
No,
No, I wouldn't have. They didn't have. I never went to any at Hampton, but Vermilion Dance.
you'd have
Hall.
been kind of young.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Yay!
that's great.
All right.
Good job.
All right, we're going.
Your face is shiny again.
Okay. All right.
Jean is going to share with us 1938 food. She's going to read us recipes.
No. And it's not specific to 1938. It's a kind of an era.
Kind of an era
20
thing.
to 50 years.
But it's a food thing.
Oh, that's quite a range.
I had a really hard time.
So you go, girl.
Give her a range.
I had a hard time getting down to just 1938 with cooking. I tried. I went to the library, like the boys did, and what I did was just mark some pages with things that I thought were kind of interesting. Milk was abundant in country kitchens. Drinks made with it rated high. Shaking milk with flavorings in a glass fruit jar gave milkshakes their name. Since cookie jars were replenished every few days, there almost always were crumbs to garnish milk drinks. A blizzard.
What?
Oh.
What did they do? They took fruit juice and milk and
Drinks
Crumbs?
made with it rated high. Shaking milk with flavorings in a glass fruit jar. That's just the kind of jar.
and then they put the
So it's
crumbs
just
right in
flavored
there.
milk, basically. But
Right.
they called it a...
That was a milkshake.
And then they used cookie crumbs on it.
Wow.
The rolls were less sweet and rich than most rolls today, but everyone added his own sweetening with honey or a fruity spread and plenty of butter.
Oh, yeah. Of course.
The custom in country kitchens 50 years ago was to use bread dough in many ways to introduce variety in meals. When making bread, it was easy to pinch off dough to make muffins to bake on top of the range, while loaves of bread baked in the oven.
They would just pull it off of the bread and put it...
And make little muffins.
Muffins.
The old way to determine when fat was ready for frying was to drop a 1-inch cube of bread, cut from the soft part of the loaf into the heated fat. If it browned in 40 seconds, the temperature was right.
Mom always did water. Did you? Put a little drop of water?
No, she just had you do that.
Let's see. Even the best cooks a half a century ago treasured comparatively few recipes. They were clever at getting great mileage from those they had by inventing interesting variations. Biscuits came to country meals in many different dresses, such as hot breads, dumplings, meat and chicken pies, and marvelous desserts.
Like with apple topping?
Was that a?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
That's Linda
Like
doing
cobbler and.
I think she's saying, how interesting.
Give me some apple topping.
Oh, I thought this was funny. Caramel cakes were extremely popular with many men. Some husbands insisted they married their wives because they baked superlative caramel cakes, which they often called burnt sugar cakes. Some women considered it a temperamental cake and difficult to bake. So if you could make a good caramel cake.
Right.
Just about
Man.
Go, girl. So, Mom, did you rank?
No, I never made
your
a
mom
caramel
rank?
cake. I think it would probably be sort
Would
of
have
like,
been your mom
yeah,
in her era.
and probably that would have been like caramel rolls or something.
Caramel rolls.
Breakfast at sunrise was not uncommon 50 years ago. The meal was hearty. Bowls were filled with hot cereal, served with sugar and cream. Frequently were followed by bacon and eggs. Cereals were cooked in the double boiler on wood and coal-burning stove with almost no watching. A universal practice was to cook them in the evening to reheat quickly at dawn. Quick cooking cereals had not made their debut.
Wow.
Wow, you're old, Mom.
They just
Yeah.
Oh. Farm women knew men liked meat. They added it to macaroni and other casserole combinations, even in small amounts, to perform the magic of giving the dish appetite appeal.
Hot dish.
And that's how they came up with
Goulash.
Yeah. Country women depended on pickled beets to add color and flavor.
Grandma.
Didn't I say
Grandma
they
always
could
did
dye
pickled
some
beets.
eggs?
Really?
Yeah.
Didn't you, Mom?
What, they use the color from the pickled beets to dye eggs?
No.
What did you say?
Haven't you been listening?
Yeah, but she said something about dyeing.
I said that the other day.
Someone said something about
that I
dyeing
thought you
eggs.
dye eggs
And
with
many
hot juice.
clothing
We were
garments.
eating
Yeah,
beets.
when we were.
They use pickled beets for that?
Well, some of us were eating beets.
You.
That's really all I had, except that I looked up what was it was ice boxes just came in when you were around that.
Like
What,
ice boxes or
electric?
refrigerators?
Yeah.
No, let's see.
Must be refrigerated.
Yeah, refrigerators.
Oh, the ice box was 1881.
She's not that old.
We're like, the ice box was a little.
You're just making stuff up.
Ice boxes were just on their way out.
Oh, that's I can do that too. Give me a big old book and I'll get up there and show what I did.
During the 1930s, gas and electric companies became interested in kitchen organization.
Oh, yeah.
So there you go.
I've never seen it
Yeah.
that red.
Okay, well that's probably long.
Well, thank you, Jean.
Way to go, Gene!
Why, you interested in it?
Are you going to introduce for me?
Oh, do you want me to?
Well, just a minute.
Mary
Let
Ann.
James sit on
Well,
your
what
lap.
would you expect out of Mary Ann? Mary Ann is going to tell us about 1938 fashion.
Yeah,
What was
right.
going on in the fashion world? Fashion world, 1938. All right. And I, like
Go,
Jean,
girl.
did an era, more of an era thing, because as we all know, fashion is a fluid thing. It's not, you know, just specific to
Now
a
it
year.
is more.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So, the 1930s was the decade of the big band sound, big screen glamour, and Bugsby Berkeley spectacular direction.
What did he do,
Um,
Mary?
He was a director and he did all of the, if you look at old films, they always show the women laying
Like Ethel Merman?
topography,
Oh,
thank you.
the swimming.
With the
shots and
fans, the
stuff?
big fans
Uh-huh.
and everything. And do you know what we're talking
And
about?
what did he do?
He was
She
the
was
director.
there, Mary.
He was the director. And this is all from the, it was a distraction from the grim realities of economic depression and the rise of Hitler. And I won't read this all to you, but I will say that in terms of fashion, women took to wide-legged pants and to the mannish cardigan sweaters of Coco Chanel, borrowed from the English gentleman. Lana Turner popularized knits and twin-set sweaters.
Oh, and now they're popular.
Yeah. I
So are the
noticed
wide
this.
leg pants.
Yeah. All of them.
Backs plunged on dresses and bathing suits, and the latter finally used as much for swimming as sunbathing. So sunbathing started in the 30s. Before that, people covered their skin.
Wow.
Closed, relaxed, but with elegance. Let's see, there was the bias cut and the cowl collar. Lots of freed up silhouettes. Let's see.
Freed up silhouettes.
Yeah, the double-breasted suit of Katharine Hepburn, trousers, all of that.
I love those suits.
That's all kind of in again, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it is, really. And I copied some pictures so we could see what it looked like. And then I have some quotes from Coco Chanel that I think are
Was she around then?
especially-
Oh, you got
Oh,
to
yeah.
read those.
So that was her was she was big then.
Coco Chanel was the big designer. And in the 1930s and the early years, the feather boa.
Oh, yeah.
That was maybe a little bit earlier in the decade.
Oh yeah.
It was in the 30s, though?
This was the 30s.
When it started?
Yep.
I won't try to get those.
Yeah.
Here, we'll pass it around after you show them up to the camera. Should we pass them around?
Sure.
I'll be your,
Here's a an interesting example of the use of accessories in the 30s.
Necklaces, you mean?
That's the way my mom
jewelry.
dressed.
That's the way Grandma dressed. Many of these are
Kind of
hats.
flapper kind of thing? or-
Hats were
She
actually
was Helen Blackman, or even after when
Helen-
she became...
More when she was Helen Berman and stuff. Less when she was Helen Reed, because then she started having babies.
hats were still very popular.
Leah.
Wow. That's a nice
And it's
coat.
true that many of these
Oh, that's
clothes, it seems to me like they're still very, some of these
And still
Notice the
stylish.
fingernails.
Let's see.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, you could. I mean, most of
And
the
the
stuff you
cigarette.
could
And the
wear
cigarette.
today.
Most
Yeah.
of the
Where are the
fashion,
cigarettes?
most of the fashion
Oh, there's one in
women.
here.
Yep. Most of the women that I saw in my research, the models were holding cigarettes.
Wow. Were they skinny then?
Very
Yeah.
30s
They're
skinny?
very thin.
30s
When did-
were skinny.
20s and 30s skinny.
20s
And then
weren't
what?
skinny.
Yes,
20s were
20s
skinny.
Wait, this is
Flat
very
Yeah.
skinny. When did
Yeah.
they get?
The 50s they got bigger.
50s
More
were,
curvy.
50s were curvy.
Just asking the question.
Really?
40s were.
I thought this was an interesting picture because it's Jacqueline
Yeah, I
Onassis.
was going to say it looks like
Jacqueline
Jack
Kennedy Onassis, who is known as one of the most fashionable and beautiful women of the century. And I think this picture looks just like Mom's graduation picture.
Oh, do we have moms?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It does though.
Yeah.
That
It's in that
square
CD
jaw.
box. You want it?
Yeah, go get it. Can you turn it
Give it to
on? You
one
see the striking similarities?
Let's see. Oh my goodness, yes.
She has a full mouth though.
What is she eating?
I see it,
something?
Mary.
Looks like
Yeah. They have.
Leah, tweak Uncle
He's a
John's
clever
ear
man.
for me. I'm not
Okay,
close
now I want to
Yeah.
Okay. Mary's like, put the camera back
That's the
on me.
look on her face.
Okay, I wanted to do a few quotes from Coco Chanel, the finest designer of the day.
Okay.
I can't understand how a woman can leave the house without fixing herself up a little, if only out of politeness. And then, you never know, maybe that's the day she has a date with Destiny, and it's best to be as pretty as possible for Destiny.
That's right.
Is that right, Jessica?
That's what I say.
That's what Jess says, huh, Jess?
Destiny likes a pretty
Here's
lady.
another one that I don't mean to be offensive at all, but this is, as the cartoon showed that John highlighted, the mentality and insensitivity actually of the day. All men are children, and if you understand that, a woman understands
The
everything.
resemblance. Oh, I didn't hear that, Mary. Please repeat.
All men are
See?
children, and if you understand that, a woman understands everything.
This is Coco Chanel.
Boy, they simplified things, didn't they?
Yeah.
Was that in Woman's Magazine
What
or
a
something?
generalization.
I mean, men didn't read
Well.
women's magazines,
I
so
think it's pretty good.
that's the only way they could get away with it.
A woman's unhappiness is to rely on her youth. Youth must be replaced by mystery.
This is
All
from
right,
the
well, I'll have
30s?
to
Yeah.
remember that.
Mom,
I'll
you're
have to
really
become more
mysterious.
Where's that? Well, whenever we ask Bob where you are, he doesn't know. She disappeared.
It's a mystery. Yay!
That's it.
Thanks,
Yes.
Mary.
Great hair.
Thank you. That's fun, thanks.
Rich, why
38.
Jesse should say.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But-
We have,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna go back to Jess, granddaughter or grandma thing.
I
Okay.
don't have a big old
No, no one did.
deal, but
Mark did.
What makes grandma special to Jessica?
okay. I love you, Grandma, because you are patient, understanding, caring, and accepting with everyone. And I'm glad to have someone to talk about our tummy aches, our mutual tummy aches together.
Uh-huh.
We can compare.
We can compare them.
Thank you. That's right. You probably got it from me.
Good to know.
Which
I'm
one's funnier?
introducing Linda. Hi, nice to meet you. Imagine that. Radio. Linda's going to talk to us about radio in 1938.
Cool.
She doesn't feel super prepared. However, we all know Linda, and unless she's getting an A+, and even then, it wasn't good enough. So I'm sure that you're going to give us a spectacular presentation, Linda.
Well, obviously, it was the Depression during the 1930s. So, when Mom was born in 1938, later in the decade, by that point, radio had become very popular, and like in rural areas out in the country, it was really important for people, or they felt like they had to have a radio because it was their lifeline to news. But also at the same time, and I have to refer to my notes, the Rural Electrification Administration was set up by Roosevelt. That was a New Deal program.
and set up to create jobs, but also to bring electricity to the rural areas, so then more people could get radios. And I didn't know this, but they used to run them on batteries. And that's why a lot of people couldn't afford them, because they couldn't afford batteries. But then when electricity came in, they could afford electricity. Some of the popular radio shows, The Shadow. I don't know if you remember. Do you remember these?
The Shadow knows.
Do
Oh
you
yeah, I
remember
remember
that?
it was scary.
Did you guys have a radio?
Do you sit around and listen to The Shadow? And
No, but Karen liked to listen to it, and Karen and I shared a room. Do you care if I tell those?
No.
Karen and I shared a room, and she liked to listen to The Shadow, and she had a radio, and I would always cry, and then Dad would tell her to turn it off. It's one of the
So she
reasons
did-
she hated me.
Yeah. One.
So what year would that have been?
I moved upstairs to sleep up in the same room with her probably when I was 4, so it was in the early 40s.
So she already had a portable, like a portable?
Well, a little radio.
How much
Because
older
was
was
it,
she?
was it
7
Bakelite?
years. Probably,
That
but I don't
plastic?
remember the
That
radio.
Bakelite?
I
Was
just
it
remember.
the story scary, or why were you?
Yeah, The Shadow
Yeah.
was scary. They'd have the squeaking door and stuff.
Was that Orson Welles?
No.
Shadow?
Evil lurks
No.
in the hearts of men.
Yeah.
By today's standards, it wasn't scary.
So when you're
But I'm
4,
back
you
then.
cry.
Yeah,
Oh, sure.
I was 4 or 5, and I didn't like it, and so I'd cry, and then Dad made her turn it off.
So that was one.
You what?
Because you can imagine she was probably 12 at the time.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, she
You
wanted
brat.
to listen to The Shadow.
Oh,
I wonder
yeah.
who The Shadow was. It wasn't Orson Welles.
No,
Okay.
no. It was
Well,
a-
like Jim had said, though, that was the right before you were born, October like 28th or something. This 1938 was the
30th.
October 30th. Thanks, Jim. On the eve of Halloween. The War of the Worlds, which was that Orson Welles radio program that I'm sure some of you heard of, where Orson Welles did "The Martians are landing," and people got so afraid that some people actually like jumped out of buildings and committed suicide. Right? Well, you weren't
I
born.
wasn't born. So.
But that's how the story goes. Amos and Andy, which was on for years afterwards. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
Radio
listened
show?
to that.
Okay.
They were fun.
Some of the plays on the radio. Okay, we're gonna skip over. Well, the fireside chats. What President Roosevelt used to do is fireside chats, and so at that time, families would gather around and sit around and listen. It was like the unlike the TV. It was like people would sit around and I don't know. It seems like it probably would have been more interactive than the TV.
Well,
people.
it wasn't though because we had to be quiet so you
So
could hear
it was
it.
still just like.
But you can
Yeah.
look at each other.
But you could look
Yeah,
at
you
each
looked
other.
at each other,
You weren't
yeah.
zoning in on that thing there. Or maybe you were sitting and staring at the radio. I don't know.
Your
But they
was
were
up by the
usually in
radio.
the dining room or the living room, but close enough to the kitchen so that the person in the kitchen could listen as well.
But you get each other's
The
expressions.
person or the
Yeah.
woman?
Yeah.
That's what I thought was so funny. It says person in here, but AKA woman. In sports at the time, they started doing sports, and that was on like baseball, and boxing was a really popular sport to listen to because it was easy to follow. I mean, I guess I'm not sure why, but
Left, right.
left, right, as opposed to the sort of visual of
Play safe.
baseball. But and they talk about how that helped to just unify the country overall because, thousands of people all over the nation are listening to the exact same game all of a sudden, and it was like unifying as opposed to going just to see your local little baseball game or whatever. It's more sort of a unifying factor for the country. And, there were after-school programs, radio programs with heroes like Buck Rogers, Superman, and Captain Midnight. And these usually lasted about 15 minutes, and then they'd have 3 or 5 of them in a row. And then they were all sponsored by cereal companies.
Yeah, because I was going to
Do you
say,
remember?
and then the cereal boxes you could send off for stuff. You know, people would get a Buck Rogers ring and stuff. Like that.
Did you listen to those?
Oh,
No.
he was on the radio.
He was on the radio. Now I don't remember listening to those, but Bob talks about it. He's older than I am.
Yeah. So I'd like to get that one in there.
Well, they talk in terms of educational and cultural programs. The original developers of the radio had the idea that it would help to sort of bring culture to the mass population, sort of uplift. And so they had a lot of symphony music, classical music, or like the Mormon tabernacle choir and things like that. And that's about all I have. That's
Yay!
We have, and here we have Rich.
Woo! What's he doing?
That'd be me.
Well,
Thanks for showing up.
let's take a guess. Guesses? Anybody have any ideas?
Laundromat.
Cars. Cars. Rich is going to introduce us to some 1938 vehicles.
Rock and roll.
All right, 1938, the year your mother was born, and I guess you guys had a 38 Chevy. We were just
that-
hearing about.
Cool, aren't they
And
cute?
you had it all the way up until into the 70s. It sounds like.
It's a cute
Which is,
car.
Would have been nice. Would have been one of those 4-doors.
Yeah, it wasn't.
This is a picture of a
Was it
4-door here.
Yeah.
Anyway, you can have that.
Thank you. I like that.
You know, it's kind of funny because other people have mentioned, and I never realized that in '38 a lot of things were going on in the United States. The business recession that gripped America throughout the year was attributed to several factors. Germany's Nazi war machine was disturbing the peace in Europe and causing fears in general about a conflict that could involve the United States. So they even mentioned that in a car magazine, a car book. So
Is
things
that a
were
magazine from the 30s?
This,
38?
No, this was actually just at the library. They had different books, and I just made some copies of different cars out of different books. But what I noticed in '38, when your mom was born, almost all the cars looked a lot alike. They really looked a lot alike.
Because of the Depression?
Well, no, I think the styling was just kind of.
Can I say
monotonous.
something? One thing that I failed to mention that was in my research was the aerodynamic look was brand new in the latter part of the 30s. Things started getting rounded, so
Because
maybe
of airplanes.
maybe
Car manufacturers started emulating aircraft.
even kitchen appliances were becoming aerodynamic.
Yeah.
Anyway, I didn't mean to interrupt.
That's right. So back in '38, you could have bought this convertible. It was a Hudson Terraplane Deluxe convertible Brougham for $990.
Wow.
What year is your Hudson?
50.
990 bucks.
And in
Cool,
50,
cool.
you could have bought that Hudson that I have for about $2,000.
Really? So they didn't go up
or
that
less.
I wonder.
But almost all these cars,
Oh, he did?
the normal drivers that you and I would probably buy were $800, $900, $1,100. You were really getting up there, boy. $1,200
For a car?
Yeah,
That was a lot of money to them though, because they were so poor.
sure. But
Are you talking like Cadillacs were?
they weren't that much more either.
The Oldsmobile was an expensive car in those days?
No, they were all about the same. They were all very competitive, within their niches. So this one here is there's quite a few different cars from 38. Here's a Hudson Terraplane Deluxe that you could get for $789, and it had a folding. It was a 2-door, and behind the seat, you had the front seat and passenger. It was a 2-door, and they had a large area back there that they had a seat facing the side. So you, like Linda and I, the windshield would be that way, the the front seat would be here. They didn't have a back seat. They just had two little seats that somebody could sit in, looking at each
How
other.
did, and it had a back door?
And that was a factory option. Yeah.
Did it have
no,
a back?
No.
Oh.
The front seat would fold forward like a two-door, and then the people
Boy,
could get in.
I'd like to see a car like that.
Yeah.
I've never
Kinda
seen
different.
that.
That was
Yeah.
one method.
What car was that, or was that just?
That was the
Hudson.
Terraplane.
Oh.
The Hudson Terraplane. Hudson built a couple different marquees. They built the Essex and the Terraplane, as well as Hudson's. And the Hudson was their top of the line, and the Essex was the bottom of the line, and the Terraplane was kind of in the middle.
Did they make Studebakers in the 38?
Oh yeah, yeah. I have a picture of a Studebaker in here also.
We're getting there, John.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Did they make Volvos back then?
The what?
Volvos?
I don't know if they did or not. I think
Well, there
they
wouldn't have
probably
been
did.
any foreign cars in 38 here.
Oh, not here, but they
Not
made
here,
them
maybe there,
before we
yeah.
did here. They had
Yeah.
cars there.
Says here that Hudson Terraplane was getting almost 26 miles to the gallon.
Wow.
What? How much?
25.799 miles per gallon.
That's a lot.
Wow. Those
Yeah.
big old tanks?
Wow.
They weighed a couple thousand pounds.
What was the top speed?
Pardon?
Top speed.
What was the top
Oh,
speed?
I'd say 80, 70, 80.
So is that like at cruising at 55 you could get that kind of mileage, you suppose?
Well, I
or-
imagine it was, their best,
But in
their best
38 they probably
behavior,
didn't go 55.
because they were trying to get that kind of mileage.
They were actually working for mileage?
Well, yeah, in order to brag about it,
Oh.
This Hudson, this 38 Hudson, the year your mom was born, they drove it from LA to New York, which was 3,192 miles. They did it in 51 hours and 58 minutes.
Wow.
How long?
51 hours and 58 minutes.
That's cruising.
LA to New York.
Really?
In 38.
58 hours?
That's cruising.
Mm-hmm.
I can't
I don't believe it.
that.
Says 51
I don't
hours
think that's
and
possible.
58 minutes.
I can't.
That's not
Non-stop.
possible.
They had a couple different drivers and they just kept going.
3,000? How much?
How many
amazing,
days?
yeah.
That's only
Yeah.
three. How many days is that?
Well, we went from
Only
here
4
to
days.
Just over 2
Boston
days.
in 36
It's not possible.
hours.
I don't believe it.
51 hours, you said.
Yeah.
That's over 4. Yeah. 24 hours. That's only
48.
2 days.
That's just over 2 days.
Holy
That's
cow.
moving.
Yeah, that's moving.
Here's a picture of
They
I
must
believe
have
it's a
been-
38 Rolls Royce. That's what the English were producing when your mom was born.
Come on.
Are those good cars?
Oh yeah, they're okay.
Rolls are supposed to be
They can be
classy.
desirable.
40 days.
We got a little ring salad,
In Iowa.
I don't think it goes to Iowa. I think it's
little
south
potato
of
salad,
Yeah.
Start selling.
some beautiful candles, and a poinsettia.
No. it
What's
starts,
this?
um,
Mmm. Hot dish goulash. Mmm. And what's this? Ooh, Kathy's favorite, salad with feta cheese. Pretty.
Then it goes south.
There's a little guacamole. What do we got in here? Let's just check. Rice dish with mushrooms and stuff like that. Mmm, that looks good. Little salsa, little lettuce. Oh, lasagna. Nummy. Hey, what's in here? Oh, wild rice chicken hot dish. Oh, pretty. That looks very good. What's this? Oh, little corn chips? Yeah. Great, delicious. Happy birthday! Happy birthday to you! Happy birthday to you! Happy birthday, dear Mom! Happy birthday to you! We
Thank you very much. What a nice party.
Can we have some
Really,
cake now?
really, really